superheroes who pops in your head for Superman and Batman.
Your Batman, your Superman, your Spider-Man.
Forever Evil #1.
G.I. Joe.
Walking Dead, Invincible.
Teleportation. I put a lot of thought into that actually, so probably too much. And sadly, it's probably just laziness, because like I don't want to walk all the way over there. It'd be great if I could teleport. So I always like Nightcrawler, so from the X-Men. So yeah, I'd love to teleport.
I'd have to say I'd have Captain Marvel's Shazam's ability, just to call down a bolt of lightning and have, you know, the speed of Mercury, the power of Zeus. Just being able to go toe-to-toe with Superman is awesome as well.
Me personally, I would pick telekinesis.
For myself, I would want to say maybe invisibility. Wink, wink. But other powers I would like would be time travel and maybe super intelligence.
More expensive. You know, they used to, computers are involved a lot more, artists use Photoshop, so that's changed the art a lot compared to when it was just pure ink on Bristol boards.
They've changed greatly. I mean, you have, if you read back on some of the Silver Age comics, you're seeing, you know, funny storytelling, whereas now it's taken a lot more serious tone. Like with Batman, I mean, he would get on little random adventures and, you know, silly escapades, and now it's, you know, he's battling life or death for the city of Gotham.
I think the main difference is how they're seen. I think American comic books are meant to be more of a product to sell as wider people, you know, like a prepackaged, marketed research product, while some of the European comic books are just the creators telling their own stories how they want to say it.
Well, one of the biggest changes you'll see if you like pick up a comic book or a trade collecting comics from like say the 80s is they're not as wordy. I mean, you can literally pick up an older comic book and it will have a text box setting up the scene, and then the dialogue that the character has sets up the scene like all over again. And nowadays, most of the dialogue or the text is not as repetitive. You know, it's kind of let the art speak for itself, and whatever dialogue is within the characters, you know, sets it up without being so obvious.
Comic books should just cost roughly around $3 or $4, and if you want to sell it, I mean, depending on the condition it's in and, you know, what's so great about that comic, it could cost anywhere between, you know, $50 to, you know, $100.
On average, it costs anywhere from $2.99 and $3.99 are the standard pricing. You have to remember that from that price, everybody gets their cut. The publisher, like say Marvel or DC, the artists, which is you don't have just one artist. You have your artist, you have your inker, you have your colorist, you have the writer, you have your editor, and actually you don't have just one editor most of the time. You actually have like a pool of editors, and then you have your shipping, your distribution, and all the way down to us. So all of that factors into the price of a comic.
They go anywhere from $3 to $4. Right now, there's actually a couple that go into $5.
Whatever gets everybody paid a living wage. So, like right now, we're at $3.99. Tends to be the industry standard. Like ideally, they'd all still cost a nickel or whatever you hear your grandpa talking about. But it would be great if everybody could afford to buy as many as they wanted, but I would be happy if they went back down to $1.25, because that's what comics used to cost from when I was a kid. But as long as it keeps the lights on and people can still make a living, I think that's the most important thing.
I think like the complaints by parents are no longer really that valid, since a lot of the younger kids don't read comics no more. It's mostly grown-ups. Our biggest demographic is people from 18 to 30 years old. However, I always get like that one mom that would buy her son a book like The Walking Dead or Cross, which are clearly for adults. I will warn them, and they come back to the store 1 hour later because I sold to their kids some smut.
Mainly that it's just gotten a lot more graphic. Even with Batman, a lot of his story arcs have gotten a lot more violent. People are dying. In the first issue of Batman Eternal, Commissioner Gordon was responsible for the deaths of thousands of people. And just the fact that if they're trying to look for anything for their kids, it's always just, a minimal section of like Teen Titans Go and SpongeBob and My Little Pony.
Luckily, I haven't run into a lot of those. So, that's what I try to avoid. They're not real happy with the price, a few of them. Content-wise, we'll steer kids to things that are written for them.
I think initially the price. Everybody has this idea that they should be, I don't know, like back in the day, at least only $1. And they can range anywhere from $2.99 up to, I've seen as much as $5.99 for a single issue. I don't think that investing in comics is that viable of a economical plan. If that's the sole reason you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Oh yes, definitely. There's a website called Comics Price Guide where they update their comics, which comics increase in value. And as of lately, a lot of comics have been bumping up. A comic that was just released called Gwen Stacy Spider-Verse, I believe was released about 3 weeks ago, is already rising up in value. And some comics that just came out this week are already being sold for $60 online. So you can spend $3 for one issue and flip it for $60. I mean, that's a great investment there.
I would advise people to read comics because they enjoy them for whatever reason, because they're not all like stocks or anything. They're not gonna put you through college more than likely. So I would say no.
In the 1990s, this guy, which I forgot his name, but he's on my list of people I need to punch in the nuts, bought Marvel Comics. Being a businessman, he was trying to make a quick profit as soon as he could. And he created a whole boom of collector comic books, as in making people think that if they buy a comic book, in 20 years will be worth a lot of money. Mind you, comics that are worth a lot of money are ones that are really old, like Action Comics #1, Detective #27, and the reason why they're worth so much because there are that many. People from the 1920s to the 1960s actually didn't have no idea comic would be worth anything, so they will just throw them away. In the 1960s, this German psychologist came to America and he did some research and created this book called The Seduction of the Innocent. And in that, it stated that Batman is gay, woman is a lesbian, and how every kid in juvie was reading comic books, so you can actually find blame that those kids were in juvie because of comic books. So that led to a lot of moms actually burning their kids' comic books. So there's not that many from those periods. Nowadays, going back to the 90s, there's a lot of them. And since people were buying them as an investment, they got so many that created a bubble. And when it popped, Marvel, DC, Image Comics, almost all of them went bankrupt. So that's why I think comic books are a horrible investment. Because nowadays, of comics, if it even goes up in price, like The Walking Dead, it's a complete wild card. Because a comic book like The Walking Dead 1, no one knew it was going to become a thing. It didn't get a large print run. And right now, like, a Walking Dead is going for $1,000. Which, to be fair, how far do you think $1,000 will take you nowadays?
Comic books important today. I mean, you're looking at the states where, you know, kids are losing interest in reading and they're having problems, you know, reading even in college. And I mean, if you really want to get, you know, kids to read something, take them to the movie, show them Guardians of the Galaxy and how awesome that movie was, and then get them into, you know, Rocky Raccoon, Star-Lord, all that good stuff. Even with Iron Man, you know, people would come in and you'd buy that for their kids, and I think it's awesome. I think that's why they're important.
I think it's really great to see how, one, they follow society. It's kind of entertaining how, in a way, comic books are modern mythology, and the stories people come up with them, and how they change through the years.
Stories, really. I mean, stories and art is what usually catches my attention.
It's pictures and words. You can do anything with pictures and words. Usually it's two guys fighting. I just really love the medium of comics, and it's the way you can tell a story with them. It's its own thing, you know, it's unique.
The stories, the art, you know, it's your escape from reality. You get to go to a place where the good guys usually win.
It's just, once you started reading comic books, like, for example, if you open Harley Quinn, you imagine yourself as Harley Quinn. I think that's cool.
I think they're a great gateway for kids, and really for anybody, but it's a good way to get kids interested in reading, because I know that's something that people struggle with, getting the kids to actually enjoy reading. So with the art, you know, and the fact that it's most of the time superhero based, kids are a little more open to it, and that can lead into them starting to pick up novels, and reading always increases our vocabulary.
They always have a place in people's life and in the society they're in, you know. Here in America, I think a lot of people oversee comic books thinking that they're a medium for children or for lonely adults like the ones we see in that awful show, Comic Book Man. But it's kind of interesting to see how they are in other parts of the world. In Europe, believe it or not, actually comic books are taken as artwork, you know. If they even put pages in museums, in Asia, it's a completely different beast. So it really depends where you are and how people will see them.
That's an art form. It's a whole medium. It's as good a form of self-expression as any. I think it's a way for people to tell their stories. You can tell stories outside of superheroes now, or you've always been able to do that in comics, but people can tell their own stories. All you need, it's one of the lowest entry art forms. All you need is something to draw with. You don't even need pen and paper anymore with webcomics.
Bye.